Peace be with you everyone, welcome back to the channel. My name is Trevor, very grateful to have you here. In today's video I'm going to be doing 10 fragrances from 10 different brands, all designers. This is actually a tag video, so the tag premise was some of our favorite fragrances from each of these brands. Thank you Dedrick for starting the tag, and thank you Mike for throwing me into this one. Really great to get the ball rolling, get back into the swing of making content again. Just actually had my third child. My son was born last Thursday, so in addition to some of the other stuff I've been posting about, we've been kind of habituating ourselves to having that novel aspect of our lives going on. So early in the morning today, so I've got a little bit of time while the kids are asleep to kind of get down and got moved in. All my fragrances are back in. Still kind of digging through some boxes to get them out, so it took me a while to locate these, but without further ado, I'm going to start out with the house of Guerlain. So Guerlain's Vetiver. This is one of, if not my favorite Vetiver fragrance. Very beautiful, grassy, bright citruses, a little bit of tobacco in there to kind of give it this earthy maturity, I should say. Really great balance though, that tobacco and kind of dry vetiver feeling give it this really dense quality, but then the citruses and the brightness and the sparkly quality of this make it a great wear for the warmer weather. So from the house of Guerlain, I went with Vetiver, the Eau de Toilette. Also a big fan of the Hermes Rouge Parfum. That one almost made the cut, but decided to go with Vetiver. This next one is difficult to get a hold of, pretty expensive on the secondary market, but this is Gucci Nobile. This is basically the best version of the Drakkar Noir DNA that I've gotten my nose on. I still haven't tried Bon Monsieur from Rogue Perfumery. If I had to recommend one though, I hear that one's pretty close to this and a lot more affordable and accessible. But this, like I said, just one of the better aromatic fougères that I've ever tried, and my favorite from the house of Gucci, right behind Alberto Morillas's Gucci Guilty Absolute. That one almost made the cut as well, but decided to go with this beautiful fougère Gucci Nobile. Next, another fresh fragrance, Acqua Profumo. Again, another discontinued fragrance, but my favorite from Armani. Classic, smoky, fresh. You know, you got that typical Acqua di Gio DNA, classic for a reason, just stellar compliment puller and easy to wear fragrance. But that little bit of patchouli and incense in this one just gave it the full spectrum sort of balance that this is something similar to the Vetiver here with the tobacco had. It just comes together into a full-bodied experience, and really sad that this one has been discontinued. Haven't tried the EDP from them that they've re-released to kind of replace this one, but I have gotten my nose on the Elixir, which I do quite enjoy a bit, but still my favorite is the Profumo. Next, from the house of Prada, this is Prada Infusion de Iris. This is basically a re-release of Prada Infusion de Homme. And what I get here with this one is kind of like a icy soap bubbles. So you get this porous, foamy-like texture, very airy and permeable, with a very cold, icy, clean touch, just walking into like a really well conditioned hotel room with a bunch of white sheets. Just very clean, very easy to wear, and it's got a little bit less of a sweet tooth than the regular Prada L'Homme, which is why I really enjoyed this one. A little bit more clean feeling, even though Prada L'Homme's really clean already. That tones down the powderiness in there a bit and gives you that more airy, mousse-like texture, which I really enjoy. Next, we've got Dolce & Gabbana Pour Homme Eau de Toilette. This is the vintage formulation. All of the more modern versions of this re-release without the sticker. It just has the Dolce & Gabbana printing on the bottle. They're all great. I still think they're really bang-on fragrance, especially as a cheapie, because you usually find them for like under the $50 mark for the 120 mLs on these. But this vintage version has a little bit more of a honey-like sweetness. I think the tobacco in here is a little bit more higher quality, as well as the lavender. The lavender is extremely more natural and creamy in this vintage formulation than the modern ones, but the overall scent profile is the same. This one just feels like it's got a little bit more color to it. In the terms of like you bring the saturation down on the newer one, it just seems a little bit more gray and flat. But the overall scent profile is the same, so Dolce & Gabbana Pour Homme. Another one of my favorite fragrances of all time, and my favorite from the house of Dolce & Gabbana. Next, I've got 5 more fragrances that are a little bit more cold weather themed. This has been one I've been wearing quite a bit lately. This is a Cartier Declaration D'un Soir Intense. If both D'un Soir and Intense have been discontinued, sadly, but this is basically one of the better rose fragrances. I think the best designer rose fragrance ever made. You get this really nice culinary feeling, a very watery, dewy rose, and like I said, the culinary spices in there just makes for a really, well-balanced fragrance. This one kind of increases the jamminess of the rose, whereas the non-intense version is a little bit more green and watery. This one has a little bit more sweetness from that upped jamminess, a little bit more darkness coming in from a slight incense in there. Not so dissimilar from the Acqua di Gio we talked about earlier, but again, one of my favorites for this time of the year in October. This is Declaration D'un Soir Intense. My favorite from Cartier. Next, Chanel. Haven't really gotten my nose on a lot of the Lace Exclusives line. I do own number 19, which I really love quite a bit. So I haven't gotten enough experience to really know the whole Chanel lineup, but from their accessible designer side of things, Antaeus is going to be my favorite from the house of Chanel. Just a beautiful kind of rosy, leathery, patchouli, dark but clean fragrance, very smooth operator kind of feeling. I like to call this the Iron Fist in a Velvet Glove. It just has that rounded, smooth, sweet, almost suede-like appeal. Very commanding of a fragrance. You're definitely making a statement with it, but the quality, that aldehydic Chanel feel, it just comes over super smooth despite being super firm. And I just love that complementary quality, that union of opposites that this one brings to the table. I'm really looking forward to wearing this one again as the weather begins to cool down. So my favorite from Chanel is Antaeus. Next, we have Hermes Bel Ami Vetiver, another one that I'm going to be reaching for quite a bit in the coming months here in the autumn season. This is basically like a leather licorice nut butter is the way I'd like to describe this. It has that creamy, kind of thick consistency and like an almost nutty quality about its texture and its core. And then there's a nice suede, dusty leather quality that reminds me of like an old catcher's mitt, and a slight sweetness that comes in, I think, through the elemi resin, but it gives off a slight black licorice feel. So Bel Ami Vetiver, one of my favorites, especially for that like kind of Thanksgiving stretch of the year, kind of like beginning of November till the beginning of December. This one kind of hits on a lot of those golden, dusty brown hues that later part of the autumn post-spooky season brings to the table, and my favorite from the house of Hermes. We've got 2 more. We've got one from Tom Ford. I went with Ombre Leather Parfum. Again, just because the rest of these were all from like the designer release, I didn't include more of the private blend in my selection for the Tom Ford. So I would say that my favorite Tom Ford is probably Tobacco Oud, but just to keep this list consistent, I went with something from the designer lineup and went with Ombre Leather Parfum. Just really easy to wear leather fragrance. That bit of iris and violet from the Parfum version makes it a little bit more easy to wear in some of the transitional seasons like spring. Even though this is more like a cold weather winter fragrance, I think that the added bit of softness that this one brings to the table is makes it a lot more wearable, and really just a leather fragrance was wanting in this list here. And I almost went with Beau de Jour, but since I had Gucci Nobile already in this lineup as my fougere option and needed a leather, went with Tom Ford Ombre Leather Parfum. And then finally we have one last fragrance, and this one was a little bit difficult. This is from the house of Dior. This is Eau Sauvage Parfum. So almost went with DHP, Dior Homme Parfum, the old version. It's one of my favorite smells, but in terms of practicality and just personal connection, this one has a lot more prescient memories, and it fits my character a little bit more. I'm more likely to wear this as a daily driver than Dior Homme Parfum, and it's also the fragrance that I've worn in the delivery room for all 3 of my children This is the old 2012 Parfum version, so it has a black label. The newer one is gonna have a silver label. Both are great, they're in the same ballpark. This one just has a myrrh note in here, so it's a little bit more resinous, cold weather suited, dark, and mature. This one's also a lot more natural smelling. So the 2017 version is still a really beautiful fragrance. I've been wearing that one a lot lately. The citruses in there are a lot more pronounced and lend themselves to more warmer weather, but this mirror resin all-star right here is just so much more natural smelling, just so much more commanding and deep and dark, and maybe not for everybody. Again, it's like almost like an Antaeus, where it's got that I guess a little bit of a difficulty to pull off, but just absolutely stunning fragrance. One of my favorites in my collection, the one that has the most cherished memories tied to it, and my pick from the house of Dior. So that was my selection, 10 fragrances from 10 brands. Let me know what you would be picking from different brands here. If there's a brand that I didn't mention that you would have liked to see, maybe I can reply to your comment in the comment section of what I would pick from that house. And this was a tag, but I'm gonna leave it open. I've been kind of out of the content creating scene for a little while, so if you're stopping by, feel free to pick this one up if you haven't. And otherwise, really hope you guys are having a beautiful weekend. Happy Friday, and I look forward to seeing you guys more in the coming days. Appreciate you. Take care.